Baalbek in Lebanon, went through a Hezbollah controlled area, tons of Iranian pictures and images of their leaders, and also a shrine that looked like it was kind of similar to ones that I saw around Karbala in Iraq. And we are now at the Temple of Jupiter here in Baalbek. And about to go inside. One cool thing related to Bible history for here is that underneath this temple to Jupiter was a temple to Hadad, which is one of the gods that we see in the Old Testament when we're looking at the Syrian government, which at that point was the Aram Damascus government. And we see in the story of Naaman that he had gone to one of these temples and he had worshipped to Hadad, and we also know this god as Baal in the Bible. And so about to go inside, see the temple. I'm super stoked to be here, and this is just a really cool place with ruins that I don't believe you could find the quality of this type of ruin anywhere else in the world related to the Roman period. And so let's go check it out. Just to give you a little more information on this area before we head up the main steps here to the Propylaea, this site is located east of the Litany River in the Bekaa Valley. It's the capital of the Baalbek Hermel government, and its history goes back roughly 11,000 years. And so we've got the prehistoric, the Canaanite, the Hellenistic, and the Roman eras. This area was conquered by Alexander the Great in 334 BC. The city was renamed Heliopolis, which translates to the Sun City. It flourished under Roman rule. It transformed during the Christianization period. It saw the rise of Islam under the Arab conquest. And the city was sacked by Mongols and faced a series of earthquakes, which resulted in its decline of importance during the Ottoman and modern periods. And this site is most known for the Temple of Bacchus and Jupiter. And we're heading up to the Temple of Jupiter now, and we are entering here the Propylaea. And Propylaea is really just another name for the gateway to an ancient sanctuary. And so right off the Propylaea, the next area that we enter into is known as the hexagonal court or the forecourt. And it's possible that the mosaics here in this court were where dances were performed. But we may also assume that it was also the place where people prepared themselves for a visit to the shrine. And so visitors may have very well left their possessions here before proceeding to the Great Court, which is the next area that we will enter into. Right off the hexagonal court, we have the Great Court of the Temple of Jupiter, and it is a pretty great court indeed. It is 135 meters wide and 113 meters long. It is about a third of the size of the court surrounding the Temple of Baal in Palmyra, and it was built on top of a very ancient hill, and it appears that the altar towers were deliberately built on the summit. And those are the two structures we see here in the middle of this court. The two tower altars we see here in the middle of this court were both platforms on which the sacrifices were performed. And this is really typical for the Near East. So in Petra, people had to climb to the high place of worship. And in Palmyra, one had to climb to the roof of the temple. And here in Baalbek, sacrificial platforms were built. And if you're interested in seeing either of those sites, the high place of worship in Petra or the Temple of Baal in Palmyra. I have included links to my videos of both of those places in the description of this video. So here we are. This structure we're in now is over what was once the second altar here. Right next to it, we've got the smaller altar, and that altar was built by Emperor Nero. And it was really a cube of about 7 by 7 by 7 meters. And there were 2 staircases making it possible for the priests to go up. And we'll see those here in just a second. So it's that cube-looking structure right here in front of us. It's got a staircase that goes up, making it possible for the priests to go to the top with the animals without having to look out for people coming down. And among these animals were lambs and birds, but on occasions, bread and honey and wine were sacrificed. Occasionally, larger animals may have been sacrificed too, and it is interesting that there was kind of like a conduit for the blood, similar to what you see in the high place of worship at Petra. Similar to also in the Temple of Baal, there was a canal for the blood to flow down. You can't really see it now because the site has been destroyed by ISIS. Right behind us, we are about to head up the steps to the Temple of Jupiter. And so the Greek equivalent to Jupiter was Zeus. And for the Romans, they believed that Jupiter was the god of the sky, thunder, and lightning. And they also believed that he oversaw all aspects of life. So you can kind of get a feeling for how important the worship here at this temple would have been for the Roman emperors and also for just the everyday Romans. So this sanctuary here was the largest temple of the Roman world after the Temple of Venus and Roma in Rome. It has an unknown construction date, but it most likely began in the 1st century around 16 BC, so about a decade or so before the birth of Christ. It's situated on the western end of the Great Court, and it took probably around 3 centuries to fully complete. The temple itself is built on a broad platform of stone that is raised 7 meters above the foundation stones. 3 of these foundation stones, which we will see in just a minute, are the heaviest blocks ever used in construction. And the only thing really left of this temple are the 6 columns that we see right over here beside us. We've got the temple here of Bacchus in front of us. But these columns here that we see are the only piece remaining of the Temple of Jupiter. These columns were almost 20 meters high with a diameter of 2.5 meters. And this location was an important religious site during the Roman Empire, and emperors often consulted the temple's oracle. You'll really see here in just a second how large these stones are. You can see this one next to me is fairly large, but we're about to see the 3 largest stones ever used in construction. And once we go through this walkway here, we'll have the Temple of Bacchus in front of us, and then we're going to take some staircases down to those 3 large stones. And you'll notice too that this site is fairly empty of tourists, and it's because I visited in mid-2024, so it was a few months before the 2024 invasion of southern Lebanon by the IDF. And so during this time, there were a lot of people that were hesitant of even coming to Lebanon, and so that's why I have this whole site here to myself. And this walkway that I'm on right here, as we get down towards the end, there's a staircase that leads down and you'll be able to see them better. But these are the largest stones ever used in the history of construction in the world. And you can't tell from right here, but once we go down this staircase up ahead and you get to see how gigantic these stones are, it really sinks in of like, it is crazy that the ancient Romans were able to build this. Because I don't know if today if something could be built of similar magnitude.
Let's see. I'm going to try to see if I can show you how big these stones are. So I'm going to stand, let's see, right over there. Yep. And let's see if you can see how gigantic these are from this. I'm working with minimal resources since my tour guide was not allowed inside because apparently it would make the other guides that work here mad. So that wasn't apparently included in the tour price, which I guess I thought it was. But I digress, and here I am, filming myself. And it fell over. Let's try this again. Okay, so got this stabilized with a rock, hopefully, and it won't fall over again. But hoping you can see how big this stone is with using me as a comparison. I'm slightly below 6 foot, a little more than 5'11" and a half, but still slightly below that 6 foot mark. So here I am in comparison to the largest cut stones in human history, according to our knowledge. So and what's wild is nobody knows how they moved these here and how they got these gigantic stones in place as the foundation pieces for this temple that's above me. It's one of the mysteries of the world that we will probably never know. And then you see columns up there. But let's continue, because I am on a time crunch today, and I have 52 minutes left till I have to be out of here. So.
And here we are at one of our last main stops here in the Baalbek archaeological site. This is the Temple of Bacchus, and again, just like the Temple of Jupiter, the exact construction date of this temple is unknown, but it is one of the best preserved and grandest Roman temple ruins in the entire world. Its ornamentation dates back to the 2nd century, and it was probably commissioned by Roman Emperor Antonio Pius. No info on this temple was recorded until the 4th century, by which point the temple would have been closed due to persecution of the pagans in the late Roman Empire. The temple itself is 66 meters long, 35 meters wide, and 31 meters high. It's slightly smaller than the Temple of Jupiter, which we were just in a minute ago, and some of the most refined reliefs and sculptures to come from antiquity have been found here. And the peripheral wall around this temple has 42 Corinthian columns. And so the Roman god Bacchus was known as the god of wine, of vegetation, of fertility, of festivity, of insanity, of ritual madness, religious ecstasy, and theater. And his symbol was the grapevine and ivy, which I happen to see here at the Temple of Bacchus site. And it's also what led the archaeologists here to believe that this was a temple to Bacchus because of those grapevines and ivy.
I have yet to see a single American tourist here yet. But there's one more temple I want to see before I leave, and I think it's on the other side of the street. So I believe this is the right way to go.
And we're coming here on the last site that I wanted to see here in Baalbek, and this is the Temple of Venus, and as you can see, it is currently closed. There is a better view of this temple from the road, which we'll see here in just a minute, but it was built in the 3rd century, and it was built on a horseshoe-shaped platform, and Venus was the goddess of love, beauty, and fertility.
So everybody here keeps asking me near Baalbek if I want to buy a Hezbollah t-shirt. And the answer is no. I'm good.
And with that, our tour to Baalbek has come to an end. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below because it helps me continue making content just like this video.